All right. So, I already gave my review there
Mhm.
with Sage from Radiant Patruity, who's in the chat right now, of the Fallout series. We reviewed that. I also reviewed that with another fellow streamer there, Purple underscore Winetails. So it was kind of different, kind of people coming into it. I've never played the Fallout games. Sage and Purple Winetails have. They're big fans of it. Sage didn't like it very much. Sage gave it a burn it on our scale, which is the second lowest you can
Damn.
give something. Purple Winetails, she'd only seen the first few episodes, 3 or 4, there that she had seen, and from that, she kinda gave it a tune in, she liked it quite a bit.
Mhm,
Me, I kinda gave it a stream it. I just kinda,
mhm,
felt kinda meh on it, but a lot of people, I guess I'm in the minority, a lot of people really loving it, a lot of people really checking it out, loving it, it's getting
mhm,
high praise from fans and critics. It's not just critics who are loving it, also fans of the series are also really
mhm.
loving it, as well. But Dusk, you didn't give your thoughts on it.
Uh,
You've seen all of it, and this will
I have.
be a spoiler review as well,
Cool.
for it. So, Dusk, what are your thoughts on Fallout, the TV
Before I
series on
begin,
Amazon Prime?
what was Sage's, main gripes with it, if I may ask?
Well, Sage's main gripes of it was it wasn't very close, and Sage is in the chat and let me and he can
Yes,
probably tell
please,
you.
I would love to hear
But
what he
from
has to say on
my
it.
memory, so he thinks it veers too much away from the lore of Fallout series. It's treated This series is basically treated not as an adaptation, but as a
A
canon,
continuation,
a continuation, a sequel. This is Fallout 5, or I guess Fallout
basically.
6, I guess, because there is a Fallout 5 game coming, but this is a sequel to like one of the games here. And if it is a sequel to one of the games, it kind of retcons a lot of stuff that happens in the games there, like stuff in New Vegas or stuff
Mhm,
in the other games. So that was kind of one of his issues there. He had also issues with some of the characters here, like the 3
mhm,
leads that we kind of follow, the stuff they do with the Knights, the Brotherhood. That
mhm.
that was kind of the way they treat each other. It's like that's not how the Brotherhood treats each other.
Yeah, he's
Um,
exactly right.
so yeah, so he has a lot of stuff. And this Walton Goggins character was his that was kind of one of his big favorites in this thing was Walton Goggins as the ghoul was one of his favorite, even though he
Mhm.
hated the makeup. Didn't like the makeup, didn't like the way the
That's
ghoul
fair
looked.
enough.
So that was kind of one of his major things, his major gripes of it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, this series is I when the way the series begins, I was initially pretty solid on it. I'm like, "Okay, this could turn out to be alright." I like the idea of a lot of things in this series. I like the idea of seeing a Brotherhood of Steel members. I like the idea of seeing a Vault Dweller having to go into the wasteland. I like the idea of the ghoul. I like the idea of these characters. And I think for the first 2 or 3 episodes, they're decently characterized, and the tone is set up that, hey, these characters are going on their own journeys, and they're all looking for this MacGuffin, and we don't know why. For Lucy, the Vault Dweller,
Mhm.
she's just peachy keen, just innocent, good person that just wants to do the right thing, has been raised to do the right thing, and came from meritocracy, and she's looking for her. And while on her wedding day, between another vault, they get surprised, and it gets horribly ruined, and people die, and in the midst of it, her father is kidnapped.
Mhm.
And then
Kyle MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan, yeah. And then for the Brotherhood of Steel, Maximus is a adoptee in the Squire program trying to make his way. His ambition is to become a knight of the Brotherhood of Steel and wear a power armor and get revenge for what happened to his homeland, although we don't learn more about that until later. And then the ghoul, he's just an irredeemable piece of shit who wants answers, and he doesn't care what he has to do to get it. He's just a cranky old cowboy who's lived way too long and done way too much to be redeemed in any real way. And these three very unlikely characters crisscross convenient and conveniently many times in the big old
Yeah.
wasteland, way too conveniently, in my opinion, to intersect in the storylines. And That's basically the story of Fallout. It's the journey of finding Lucy's father and and finding this MacGuffin to eventually lead to all these answers and either get someone's ambition or dreams, or to find answers, and the many different misadventures that show up along the way. Uh, Let me see. I'm going to read fundamentally.
While you're reading that, so Rain from
Yeah.
Maturity said, fundamentally, Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 are frontier stories, post-apocalypse. The
Mhm.
Bethesda-produced games and this show have a desire to be more a typical post-apocalypse wasteland story. That's one big problem I have.
That's a very fair point, and I actually agree quite a lot with you. They It's very clear that they took a lot of understanding from the timeline and lore. Uh, it's very clear they put a lot of timeline in, at least to try and connect the timeline, to have this lore, have items. They do a lot of small things. Stim packs are here, med packs are there, Radaway's there, Rad King, like televisions. They get the small details pretty correct, pretty close, really close in some points. They even mention certain things like T-45s having armor issues and flaws. That's been there since the Fallout 1 and 2 lore. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's nice for you to do there. And then they have glaring other lore. And then they say, oh, well, we want to be really close to our lore. But then they fundamentally change lore, omit lore, old lore, or, which Bethesda constantly does, they create new lore and then retcon or change it up later. There was a famous example of when someone talked about in Fallout 4, like, hey, you've changed the lore for this thing. This wasn't what it was in Fallout 1 and 2, which was the main, or even New Vegas, who the people who made Fallout 1 and 2 were given a chance of making that game, and why it's so good is they knew their lore up and down. So they could add it more organically than Bethesda ever has. And Bethesda basically said, we don't care about older canon, we care about our canon. And then they don't even care. They don't even they don't even focus on their paying attention to their own damn canon. And there's some answers that we get here. Uh yeah, basically, I thought the chat's blowing up a bit, but I think they
Let
have
me
a lot of great points.
So Rain from Maturity said the Fusion Tech Moldover gets who Moldover we see is kind of one of the main villains we see in this show
We
early
can
on.
barely know her at all.
Gets with the head at the end, makes the whole show collapse to me. Fusion tech is everywhere in the world. Every power armor and vault use it. You can trip over this tech just walking around it. Just walking around. It makes no sense why anyone fights to get it.
Uh
Uh,
yeah, Cold Fusion specifically could be in such a small way if they establish that this could be used by almost anyone at any time, which they kind of set up. They don't do enough setting it up. That's a big problem. The initial 4 episodes of it being semi of a frontier story, to at least trying to figure these things out. There's eventually it when they try to answer all these things, they really don't have good conclusive ending examples or endings to them. That's one of the major problems with this for a lore perspective. I also think what they do with Lucy's character at the end, she feels very different very on. And I noticed, I went and checked, the first 3 episodes are directed and written by the same people.
mm,
It's very consistent. The tone is actually much more even for those. And then as soon as it leaves episode 3 and goes to 4, it's written by the same guy, but now a different writer. And then after that, it's a different director, a different writer for each episode after. And that really shows, because by the time they get to Vault 4 and a couple other places, they just say she just does dumb or stupid things that make no sense for her character that we've established before, or the way she treats Maximus. And Maximus actually is the one of the biggest characters I have the biggest problem with. I wanted to love the idea of Maximus, but he basically fails upwards.
mm.
He's basically uh,
Let me read some
yeah,
more.
go ahead.
Let me catch up here.
Absolutely.
Uh, Ulysses says Fallout 2 also established the NCR has many cities and powerful neighbors. And you can't really have this narrative in this part of the world without erasing that from the canon or
He's
just being
absolutely right. That was
yes.
another thing I was going to bring up. Thank you for mentioning that. He's absolutely right. I also saw Rated Immaturity talk about Shady Sands being nuked.
It says also Shady Sands there being nuked and then it just left their mark. Makes no sense. And San Francisco in two is a massive Chinese theocratic city that would have absolutely moved in on that
Yeah,
empty space.
that Shady Sands being destroyed and then nothing being filled in its waste, especially like that being completely destroyed. Um, there's so many areas around there, like New Reno, the Vault City, Ario. I mean, the Boneyard. I'm even looking at that. Did he mention any of that?
Yeah, he mentioned New Reno, Vault City, Gecko, Ario,
Oh
Santa
yeah,
Fe,
the
and the Boneyard,
Den.
the Den,
There's
countless other
so
cities.
many major heads and major hubs in these areas, like so many, and they just bypass all of them. They don't mention any of these places. They basically have to retcon the geography. It
Yeah,
even is and try to make it and swap play for this to make sense. They basically have to retcon where it is to make it any sense. And by the way, they do great distance. Another problem I have with this, they travel back and forth between places. And
speed travel. It's like
yeah, they
Game of
speed
Thrones.
travel. I'm like, no, 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 no. This would take days, weeks to travel across these areas. At one point, Lucy loses the head to a monster, and the ghoul shows up, and he uses her for bait for some reason to get the monster, just to torture her for some reason. I don't understand his character. Either he's a practical, cruel asshole that just does what it takes. He's just an old cowboy. But then seems to have this perverse love of basically torturing Lucy just to make her break and crack. And I'm gonna. This is a small rant for me, but it bothered the shit out of me. At one point, spoilers. Lucy tries to get away, and she bites his finger off. And so, in return, he cuts her own finger off
Mm.
in retaliation. He's clearly calm when she bites her finger off because he's a ghoul. He doesn't really feel it that much. He doesn't that care that much. And if he can just and eventually that becomes a non-issue later. He goes and he goes and cuts her finger off just to then go and sell her later and go, I need all these vials. I have a mint condition vault. Well, almost mint condition. He looks at her finger and I'm like, then why did you cut off her finger, you fucking idiot? You didn't have to do that. You had her. You could have just knocked her ass, punched her out, and then re-sewed your own finger for consistency. And then he doesn't even give her finger back and send her to the doctor, who they reattach a dead finger to hers. So what? The finger's just gonna rot off. Unless you're telling me that now somehow that stitched it completely back. Now she can move it as if she never lost the finger at all. So are you going to show that eventually blood's going to flow to that finger and it's going to work again? And she's going to have that finger? Or are you now saying for the rest of her fucking series that you're going to do with your costuming that now she's going to have a gray finger on her trigger finger for the rest of the series? Why? Why would you do any of that? Why would he do that? Why? It makes no fucking sense. And then he sews her finger onto his? She didn't eat his finger. She spat it out. He could have just picked up his own finger, handed it to her, and go, your doc can fix you, a near mint condition. And he just reattaches her own finger. There you go. Point made.
Let me catch up what I was saying here in the chat here. Raven said also retcon the geography of where Shady Sands even is and try to make it swap places with the Boneyard.
It would make more sense to be a boneyard, but then you wouldn't have the Shady Sands things.
And he has a question to you.
Oh yeah, she used none of her skills. She's basically a pointless. She doesn't use her shit later.
Yeah, and they say at the very intro of the very first episode, she has all these things, and she, martial arts skills and speech skills, and that was another Sage's one of his criticisms that doesn't.
Yeah, they don't use any of those actual shit. Moldover was also dumb. Thank you. Yes.
Let's see. Ulysses saw say Moldova was also too dumb to live. She literally had everything she wanted in episode 1 and did nothing in it. She just left the vault, leaving everything she needed to undo Vault-Tech's plan behind.
Yep, correct. She could have just gone in, opened it up.
He also agreed with you on Maximus, the character. He said, "OMG, thank you for saying that, Dusk. I agree with you on Maximus wholeheartedly. Maximus was real potential, has real potential there. Totally squandered by the show, making him look stupid at every possible turn."
He has one moment where I was like, yes, I want to see this. Even though they've retconned the Brotherhood of Steel to like the moment they start talking in barracks, I'm like, The Brotherhood of Steel are underground. They have underground bunkers. They wouldn't have an outworld bunker like this unless this is for training exercises. That wouldn't be how they do it. Also, they're separated by gender barracks, and that's not how they deal with that stuff. That's not how squires are made. That's not how any of this. I don't. There's a. But I'll forgive that if this could have been a chapter of the Brotherhood that's separate from the other chapter. They've had splinters before. You know what I mean? They've had
Mhm.
splinters, so it's okay. I can forgive it on that measure. But then he has this one night, and no, he's going to be a piece of crap, and he's trying to be the right squire. And then Maximus, he has one great moment of when this guy fucked around with a bear and found out, and then
That
down
was,
Titus.
God, what's that actor? Michael Rappaport.
Like a record, and he's just chewing him out, and he's like, "Give me the stim pack." You know what they do to people who don't? And he just has Maximus has this one great moment, and he looks at him and he says, "You're not worthy of the armor that you wear." And
Mm.
he's like, "You're not worthy. They'll kill you for that." And he goes, "Not if I bring back the head." And I'm like, "Yes." I looked at all the characters as a playthrough of Fallout. Lucy is the good path,
Mhm.
Maximus is the neutral path, and the ghoul is the complete evil path. And that could work as these odd characters who normally wouldn't even interact with anybody. They can intercede, but they have so many dumb interweaving, intersecting just for them to meet that it makes no goddamn sense in a context of a show.
Yeah.
Another issue I had was when you find out that there's a whole thing about the past. All the stuff in the past is interesting until you get to the reveal of what his wife does, which by the way, there has never been a more good reason to divorce your spouse than what she says in that scene. Like, yeah, let's just drop the nukes. We're gonna drop the nukes first. I'm like, oh,
So,
yeah, go ahead, please.
I kinda had a question about that
Yes,
because
please.
the first
I'd be more than happy
episode,
to answer.
you see him, he's doing, like, a birthday party,
Yes.
and you see, it's kind of the begin that's the first episode you
Yeah.
see, and then when they're at the birthday party, the nukes drop.
Mhm.
Um, and they never say also, by the way, apparently in the game says that's a big thing that China drops the nukes, but here it's Vault-Tec that drop the nukes or help facilitate dropping the nukes there. They do that. But I bring that up in the first episode about the cowboy party because he's
Mhm.
doing a parties because throughout the
Yeah.
series, you see a backstory of they give an origin story to Vault Boy. That Walton Goggins character being this actor, he was the spokesperson for Vault-Tec and used as basically Vault Boy and doing all that stuff. And then his wife also worked for this company. So I'm like, did he divorce his wife after he heard that, and then that's what forced him to do the birthday parties? It's like he wasn't a big time actor anymore.
So presumably, and I'm making a big presumption based on what we know, because the guy taking a photo at one point says, "I can't believe you invited this guy." He's like, alimony. Why does the guy need could get this gig? And he goes, alimony.
Yeah,
So clearly, he's paying alimony money. He doesn't have a lot anymore. He's been blacklisted by Hollywood because basically Vault-Tec probably blue balled him and said, "Oh, he's a red commie and he can't work." They were already not because he worked for Vault-Tec, so he probably couldn't get a job anymore. His wife probably blacklisted him, or
yeah,
Vault-Tec blacklisted him, and so he
because
has no other
people,
thing but being an old school cowboy.
yeah, because people at the party do call him a pinko.
Yes, they do. A pinko is an old school term for basically a trader.
Yeah, like a
I
commie
like,
term.
and they use the thumb. At first, you're like, the thumb, why not? He's like, well, I think all things considered, I don't want to do the thumbs up. Which, by the way, them making that the Vault Boy thumbs up thing was kind of cute, but that also means so you're saying the ghoul now is canon was the Vault Boy? That was just a thing set up. Why would you make that? Let's get to some of these comments on the side because they're really good. They make some really good
Okay.
points.
Oh, wow, that's a big ass
And
comment here.
yeah, I'll just get to this one.
Ah,
The big, Ready for Immaturity brings up a really good point. The big reveal of Vault-Tec at the end also contradicts the themes of the original games. It's supposed to be that Vault-Tec conspired with the US government to build the vaults as a just in case. They didn't want the nuclear war to happen. China drops the first nuke because the original is about human nature corrupting all systems. The show felt like it only wanted to say capitalism bad, but left out the original condemning communism just as equally. Yeah, the original Fallout 1 and 2 were far more nuanced. Were far more about, look, we have different ideals. Maximus says one good thing. He says one good thing when he goes, everyone wants to save the world. They just have a different idea of how that's going. Is it how they want to do it? That actually is pretty apt for Fallout. Everyone has a different idea of how they want to save the post-apocalypse, but they don't know what to do. Fallout 1 and 2 were far more nuanced, and uh, all the Bethesda games never. There's a great video on YouTube I would actually highly recommend, Josh, if you ever get time to watch. It's called "Why Bethesda Never Truly Understood the Fallout Franchise," and it's actually it's a great watch, and it would bring up a lot of things into perspective that I can't quite do into justice. But we'll read a couple more because I think they're good too.
Ulysses.
Mhm.
He says, also, if this was Vault-Tec's plan to kill every city that rises up, Vault-Tec's execs signed their own death warrants by assuring Wastelanders would hunt down every vault in existence and wipe them out in
Exactly. It
self-defense.
doesn't make any sense. Also, where did they get the manpower to activate all these nuclear silos in the Fallout lore? It's basically hard to come by. It's been ravaged by time and sands. The resources to put these things back up into running would only be feasible by people like the Brotherhood of Steel or the Enclave. And another thing, I also like Red Maturity. Also, why did Beavis and Butthead run the organ harvesting clinic? And how did they have resources to have endless supply of ghoul cure drugs? Yeah. Also, that wasn't a thing in the games. People just ghouls just went feral just whenever. It was like a ticking time bomb. You could not go feral, or hundreds of years have passed and you could not go feral. It really depended. Um,
Yeah.
Brotherhood of Yeah, that was another thing. And at the very end, Maximus comes back. Why did the Brotherhood forgive him and act him as like a second command? Yeah, he basically brought the wrong head, gave it to him, and went openly admitted, yeah, my guy died, and so I put on the Knights Over. Also, Maximus has many times to tell it like to say exactly how it went. It literally isn't his fault. The guy was a prick. He tried to fight a bear. He lost. There was not much he could really do. He ran away from battle like a cow, like this. He didn't actually fight it as much as he could with every last breath. He actually could have won against the bear if he fought it with every inch of his ability with the armor on, but he didn't. And then
Seems like, yeah, I
he's
don't really get how he lost that fight
Yeah,
with
no,
that
actually,
armor.
that power armor, you can unarm that thing. He was like pushing and hitting it back. He just needs to hit it in the head a couple more times, and you see what a power armor can do. He shouldn't have lost, but he was basically showing that he was unworthy of the armor. I get it, but he just said guy was unworthy of armor. He died in combat. I couldn't leave that technology because the Brotherhood understand. Hey, I'm calling in. My knight died. He died against the bear attack. You can see the claw marks. I can't really, do that with my own hands. I need is like, will you allow me to, he's like, will you allow me to continue to do this? They might have just gone, your mission is an imperative. We need you to step up. Are you really ready to step up and be a knight?
Uh,
That would have made a much more interesting story.
One thing,
Yeah,
about it,
please.
so I was kinda, so everybody, the MacGuffin in this show is this head. It's Michael
Yeah,
Emerson, who again is playing another
he
Michael
does a fair
Emerson.
job. I
Michael
appreciate seeing him.
Yeah, he was also in another Jonathan Nolan series, who
Mhm.
is the showrunner here. He was in Persons of Interest. So
He also had
he
a really good dark joke with the Plan D, like with the
okay.
cyanide pill. That was a really good. There, that's why like the beginning 3 or 4 episodes are really with all the problems it's really solid. They let you sit with the fact there's like a scene where Lucy is wandering in the wasteland. Before I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's a scene when
Yeah, go
she's
ahead.
wandering and she sees a family and they're all at dinner and it's heartbreaking. They're all died, but and you see looking at the tablet it says Vault Tech Plan D. And that is a good callback for later on where he goes, I've already taken a cyanide pill. I'm not gonna make it. It's always like, I don't know, it's like, it was the most humane thing Vault-Tec ever did. That actually fit in the Fallout. That felt Fallout.
Mm,
Darkly kind of bitter. Their first 2 Fallout, and especially New Vegas, is a very bitter darkness to it. It's a very dark form of comedy. It's very bitter
yeah.
at the sadness. Mhm.
So I was gonna ask, so
Yeah.
the MacGuffin is the head, and she has to take the head of
Yeah.
Michael Emerson. She cuts it off and has to take it to Moldover. How did the Brotherhood know about it? Did I miss something? Or like I was like, how did
No,
they get the Okay, I was
there's no
wondering.
reason they would know about that.
Okay.
Unless they like whether scouting for, unless they heard intel or got somebody or tortured somebody. They didn't say how. They didn't bother with that. They just said, "Hey, we have orders." Who did we get the orders from? Where did we get the orders from? We're clearly just a branch or a splinter of the Brotherhood of Steel. we're not the full chapter ourselves. Which, by the way, the full chapter of the OG Brotherhood of Steel, by the time of New Vegas, which was 15 years prior to the show, was on its last leg.
Mm.
Its chapters were weakening. Well, at least that one major chapter was weakening in the Mojave. So in the California one, we didn't know, but that one in Splinter was weakening.
It would
So
it
go
would
ahead.
make sense they would know about him because she was at that town and it was the big
Right.
shootout, so it makes sense they would know about him, and then maybe she went with him, and then they went somewhere, but it's the fact that of, like, we have to go
Right.
get the head, I didn't really see that.
Yeah.
Rating from Maturity said, "I also like to point out Meldover is said to be feared and powerful in the Wasteland, but then we never once, are given any reason she's dangerous outside of the Oscar-winning dialogue, she steals dads." Um,
Oh,
yeah, you do have that. You also said, "Why was the big bad executive vault guarded by a Roomba with on a stick?"
because haha funny.
Yeah. A Roomba, then Raymond should say a Roomba that gets stuck easily too there.
Yeah. No, he should have been in a Robo Brain body. He should have
Unless
been. So there's an enemy in the Fallout franchise within that Robo Brain, but he's on a robot body. He should have just been in one of those.
yeah, unless they would just so I guess, yeah, maybe just for comedic purposes, which the humor I
It's
think was more missed than hit for me, but
especially later on. It was it leaned into like God of Love and Thunder level of humor by the second half, which really didn't work
yeah.
with the earlier tone of the series.
Yeah, unless they I don't know, I guess you could say maybe that the Vault Tech people were so confident that the people were so stupid that they had
Mhm.
them wrapped up that they would never find out, I guess. I guess you could say that maybe. Um, Rain from Trudy also said, also, Michael Emerson's character comes from the Enclave, but the show never explains what the Enclave is. Also, why isn't the Enclave one of the groups looking for him through the rest of the show?
Agreed. The Enclave is the leftover part. I know they got thoroughly annihilated in Fallout 2 in some aspects of it, but there's many factions of the Enclave still running strong. Even when you defeat their main base, they still have many bases throughout the Californias, the Capital Wasteland later, the mid there's actually theories in Fallout lore that there's actually a huge Enclave presence in the Midwest and they basically own the Midwest that's never been explored that I would love to see from that perspective of the Enclave. The Enclave should have been all over trying to get it back too. This should have been a fight for something for all different sides. Um, another one they said Microsoft he lost the fight. Yeah. Oh my god, that bothered me so much. Power armor isn't in the show. It's super inconsistent. Lost it because sometimes it crushes heads. Sometimes it can't hurt a bear. Sometimes it breaks bridges. Sometimes it gets perma stuck in a wooden board. Or sometimes there's a weakness just above the range of its heart, and then he can just with a revolver shoot through that and kill a guy instantly and kill a whole room with power armor. I'm sorry, I've played the Fallout games. Power armor is one of the most powerful items you work up to get to. The power armor is nigh invincible. It does have weaknesses. It does have welding issues in those areas. And the T-45s, those original ones, its main flaw was it had fusion power packs that had to go on and overheated really quickly. It also had joint issues and those same problems. So it was nice that they brought that up in the lore. But these are T-55s, T-60s. They fixed a lot of the problems with that. Maybe in the joints, killing that one guy, he caught him by surprise, cool. But why did he allow him to talk? They're in an active war zone. Why are they all just turning around and they just allow the ghoul to talk? The ghoul was way too invincible in the show. He was
Yeah.
way too inconsistent in characters and way too invincible. He's a badass gunslinger. I get it, but he simultaneously can take punches that would cripple a human being, and ghouls now I guess can regenerate health and body parts. That wasn't in the lore. If anything, they have weaker body frames because, radiation. They could just live longer.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but
I mean, I liked Walton Goggins' character as the Ghoul, but I will admit he was a
yes,
Gary
in the
freak,
dark. In the
you know?
dark. He did all that in the dark. Although, by the way, in their armor, they would have night vision. I like Goggins well enough. He's actually the best part in this. But he's really, like the other characters, he's really inconsistent.
Yeah.
But yes, in the dark, they actually would have an advantage. They have night visions on that and would be able to see in the dark. So they would actually have a way better advantage than he does, or at least be on the same playing field with his ghoul eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you listen. Oh yeah, Walton Goggins could do 360 no scope a whole room of Power Armor Knights with a pistol because he's a Gary Stu.
He really is. It's ridiculous. That actually bothered me so much. They took down it. Oh, by the way, we were expecting a good fight with the remnants of the NCR and a bunch of other characters, and nah, they just kind of curb stomped them. It's not even that interesting. Thank you, by the way. No problem with Radio Maternity. Seeing everything you saw, I feel you, brother. I feel you. I feel you.
So, what did you like about it?
I like the aesthetics. I think the set design is very well done. I think for a show of its quality, they got a lot of the visuals right, but they fumbled hard when it comes to lore building, areas, characterizations, and everything, and a lot of other parts. I think for someone who doesn't know the lore, this is fairly enjoyable. But if you know anything even remotely about this franchise, it doesn't start off bad in the first half. It's actually not too bad, but once past episode 3, it starts taking a noticeable nosedive in quality. And I'm gonna try and wrap this up, or at least try to get to the end. At the very end of the day, Lucy's looking for her father. She finds the head. Maximus basically sacrifices himself. That ends up turning to be all right.
By the way, he should have also died at the
Oh, he
end.
should have been super dead. He should have been killed.
His head should have been a
He
pumpkin.
accepted his death. It was supposed to be a noble sacrifice, that of a knight. If you're gonna pull some bull shit like that, it should have been you sacrifice your life for another person because you believe what they are doing is right. The Brotherhood of Steel would have still been mad at him, but there would have been like some knights that would have been like, I can respect that. Like you held integrity and nobility in some aspect. That would have been respected within at least the old Knights Brotherhood of Steel. But they also would have been mad because and would have killed him because you let go basically super technology to these NCR people. Which, by the way, at the end of the day, Moldover, this character, people talking about her, who is a fucking dumbass throughout most of it, who could have accomplished her goal but chose not to. She reveals the whole plan of what? Oh, I want to create cold fusion to power up this area for endless amount of power, basically, to power up this entire area for this area in California. Well, originally we were all in Sandy Shades, but then your mother took you and your brother up the surface because she was so smart and so amazing and so incredible that she took you up there against their goodwill, and went up to the surface. And then your father came looking for you, tried to bring you back. She refused. So she took you and your brother back to the vault and then nuked Sadie Shands. Which, first, I'm like, it makes no sense. Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Yes, thank you. Moldover basically had Lucy raped with a fake marriage, and then we're supposed to like Moldover. Yes, she basically got date raped by a raider, no less. She came in, murdered innocent people, and what, we're supposed to feel sorry for you? No, everything her father tells her, like, she's a murderer. She killed our people. She did all this. Oh no, but my mom, and she believed in this life, and then it felt so bullshit to justify whatever crap she did. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If she's from the NCR and she could have done this, why not just go into the vault, take him as hostage, get him to the overseer room and go, okay, you're going to hand this over, and then have everyone gathered and explain the situation. Show this here. Show that this was her thing and explain their situation to these people. Like, censor, because and if everyone's vault censor could realize it, well, how did they even get through? They'd have all sensed it. The only person who wasn't wearing it was her in her wedding dress. And yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask, because you forgot about kind of another. I guess you would call them also maybe a slight protagonist in the show, the brother. What did you think about all this stuff with the vault?
He's the best part.
You think he was the best part?
He's by far the best part. At least he was consistent.
Yeah.
And you were uncovering a mystery. It was something. He's by far the best part. He goes from basically being a coward guy with anger to try and discover a bigger mystery, and he's left in a very difficult position. Also, good for him. He's such a short dude.
Yeah, he's 5'1". He's 5'1".
Like good for him, man. And they don't hide it. They don't hide the fact that he's 5'1".
Especially because it follows the story with him. Yeah, with Chet, who's very much taller than
Oh,
him, so
yes, it is.
it's a big difference.
I love their dynamic. They were like the best part.
I wasn't as interested. I thought that was kinda one of the weakest parts of it.
It is, but at least it's something that didn't piss me off because it didn't spit on the eye of everything else.
Wow, and this dude, he's not even that tall himself. He's average height. He's only like
Yeah,
five
I
nine, but
know.
I get standing next to him,
Compared
he
to
looks
him.
like 6'2" or something. Let's see, read some of these ones, and then you can
Yeah,
give your,
please.
final thoughts and
Yeah.
rating here. Let me see, where do I leave off at?
You left off at, like, also the
Dark.
brother in the dark, mind you.
Okay, so also the Brotherhood only sends out knights and power armor in groups, in the games because if one does die, the other have to carry the armor back. The show makes it look like they just send one dude out at a
Yeah, that
time if
made no
they lose that.
sense. You should
Uh
Why would you just send a squire who has nothing in doing that?
Ulysses said, Ghouls in the game are actually quite fragile. In this, they're gods among men. That dollar store Charlie Day takes an arrow to the neck and barely notices. Yeah, so I guess they are doing a season two of this show. They already got officially renewed,
Of course they
uh,
did.
so that's already coming. And I guess that character is going to be coming back in another capacity, another role there. So you are
Yeah,
going to
he
have
got
that.
healed by the chicken fucker.
Yeah, the chicken fucker turned into a ghoul himself, or maybe something else, another possible species there.
That's the only thing that I think was actually felt Fallout-esque. There's some weird ass, almost border supernatural small things in the Fallout 1 and 2, where there's not explained, and by not explaining it, makes it more interesting.
Raven Fisher also said that Hitron would have killed him. Would have killed a Fast and Furious character with how hard it
Yeah,
was.
he
Yeah,
should Maximus should be dead from that
yeah,
smack.
yeah. Because at the final episode, so you have all the groups coming together as all these things do merge for the for the MacGuffin there. So you have the Brotherhood, you got the Lucy with the Ghoul, and the Ghoul comes in. Lucy finally gets to Moldova. They all kind of merge together, and then the big reveal is that her dad was behind. He was working for Voltec, and Voltec is actually this evil company, and they're the ones that dropped the nuke, and they're the ones that
You know
killed.
what? Go ahead, continue.
Oh yeah, they're the ones that did all this. So and then he's actually been alive for hundreds of years. I don't know exactly how Moldova was alive for also hundreds of years because she didn't have a pod, but okay. Unless you know the answer to that, why she was alive for 100 years.
So my only best guess, because they show her actor in the previous area, my best guess, the show doesn't explain it, but this is the only thing that makes sense, was she was another member from Vault 31, and she somehow got her BS'd her way into being in the cryogenic thing,
Mhm.
and then she grew up in the Vault 31, 32, and 33, met Rose from Vault 33. She and Rose became very good friends, like the best of friends, and that's how she met her husband from Vault 31, and he fell in love with her, and then she felt, "Oh, something's going wrong here. Moldover, why don't you and me go up to the surface and see and reveal it?" And probably Moldover convinced her, like, "No, go ahead. Let's go together, and I'll show you the real world and this, and I'll help you out." And then they
Okay.
left. But then again, that also brings up, why didn't she have a pit boy if they used Rose?
Yeah. Ulysses also said, in the first episode, I was worried I'd have to eat shoe, like I promised. After that, I knew I wouldn't have to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did make a bet, so you had to eat a shoe if you really like the show. Yeah. Let's see here. Also, Raven Sure said Moldova was basically, yeah. Oh yeah, we already read that one.
Yeah.
Raven Sure also said also wouldn't every single Vault Dweller Pit Boy get radiation? You also talked about
Yeah.
that already. Ulysses also said California already has nuclear plants
Yeah.
too. Her energy plan wasn't special and was totally pointless.
There are
Uh,
many fusion reactors in there.
Raven Sure said I didn't like the height difference between him and the other guy. I felt like a hobbit hanging out with
Yeah.
Shaq.
That's what made it funny to me. It was just a good visual gag. It was something to be interesting.
Like a comedy duo, Laura and Hardy there. What was the two people? Who am I thinking of?
Shit.
The fat
Mhm.
guy and the skinny guy.
Oh, Abbott and Costello?
Abbott and Costello. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And so also, where did the dog go? It just sort of disappeared. Like after episode 6, it never came up again. Despite some seeming important. Yeah, there was some with Michael Emerson, and then the dog. It seemed like the dogs were also possibly genetically engineered.
Yeah, I thought that we're gonna do anything with that, but I guess we'll save that for season 2.
Yeah, it seems because I know the dog isn't like a dog a part of the game. Like you get to
Yes, it
have a
is.
dog.
Dog meat is a lovingly part of almost every single Fallout game, except for new. There's a dog in almost every single one, a dog companion in every single one. 1, 2. Um, in Fallout New Vegas, it's Rex. Um, then Fallout 4, it's other dog meat. And Fallout 3, you can get your own dog meat. There's a dog meat in every single one.
Mm. Yeah. So it
It-
seemed like they were doing
Everybody
some.
love dogs.
Yeah. And then they also said, I think Ulysses said that, how do you show people are evil in the show? You
Kill
have
dogs.
kill dogs, killing puppies here. Yeah. You put them in the meat grinder there. So yeah, you have that. Orange Peel also said, also Michael Emerson runs away in episode 2. That automated
Oh yeah,
current
that was
5 feet away really
ridiculous.
couldn't hit him. Um,
Yeah, that should have
you
killed him.
Ulysses said the last thing I want to say is that it feels like a completion of Todd Howard's dream to boot out Black Isle and Obsidian's contributions to the franchise, so he can keep saying he invented it.
Yeah, it pretty much did feel like he's now the lore master and the lore keeper, and it's his lore or the highway.
Rafe Trish said, there will also be this will also be my last comment, but Jonathan Nolan said in an interview that Todd Howard invented Fallout and how nice it was Bethesda to allow Obsidian Black Isle to make things in Todd universe. Which makes me think Nolan didn't actually know anything about Fallout and Todd Howard just lied to his face. I also heard Jonathan Nolan say he didn't care about pleasing the fans.
No, he
Uh,
also didn't care about that either.
but he also said that, which I mean, I guess I see a little bit of that.
And then lastly, he says Todd Howard attempted to sabotage New Vegas development back in the day. This is revenge. I guess so. You know, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna give my last rating, my final rating. As many problems as I have, for specifically, this is specific for non-lore people who know the Fallout franchise. This is a low stream it. This is a low stream it. I think this is just like you could have a fun enough time. You can watch this. But if you're a Fallout fan, a really big Fallout fan, this is dumb. This is skip it, man. I don't hate it as much. I'll just ignore it. But you know what? No, guys, don't ever apologize. Radiant for Charity and don't ever apologize for getting in the chat. This has been fantastic. You've actually, guys, you've inspired me to do something I've been wanting to do for a long time. This may be the video to do it. I've been meaning to create my own YouTube channel and put up personal reviews of things and talk about video essays on specific subjects. And I may not always agree with the crowd as I normally do. I'm inspired now. I am inspired to. This will be maybe one of my first 3 or 4 videos. This will be a video. I want to talk about this TV series, how Bethesda and Fallout has treated Black Isle and the legacy of the Fallout franchise. And I want to do it. This is the series. I'm going to make a video on it. I don't know how, but I'm going to start working on this now in the background. I make you a promise. I'll find something to do. I'll do it eventually because I know I might be the dissenting opinion, but I got to put it out there other than just here with visuals and other things once I'm able to do so, because I was like, this just inspired me to do it. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, review wise, so it's I think in 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not to say that it means it's good or anything. I'm just saying that
for people who don't know the lore, this is a fun, dark comedy series that has problems. It's got some great visuals. It's got some great visual gags, and it kind of loses the plot past the halfway point. And it has some inconsistency problems. But it's like a 7 out of 10 series. It's all right, 6 or 7 out of 10 series. It's not bad. It's pretty good for a video game adaptation. That's pretty solid, and it has things that people love. The thing you got to understand, Josh, is people who are in the Bethesda fans specifically will forgive a lot of dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda fans love their franchise. They love the Elder Scrolls. They love the Fallout franchise. They love it. The thing also about this is, if this show wasn't called Fallout and it was just called something different, it wouldn't be this popular. It wouldn't be this loved. It would be liked enough, maybe by some people, but it would not have this overwhelming hype positivity.
Yeah.
It really is in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. So audience on the Rotten Tomatoes also 89%. Has that also as well with a 94% of. You want to read some audience reviews? See what they say.
Please.
people who thought highly of it. So let's check this out real quick, just to get general sense here.
I know there's other YouTubers out there who loved it, like for the most part, with some problems. Matty X Plays, he's a big Fallout guy. He loves Bethesda. I know also on YouTube, Juicehead liked the show quite a lot. I don't know if TK Manis did as well, but I know he also is a big Bethesda fanboy.
This person, I don't see a name by it, but they gave it 5 stars here.
Mhm.
It said the best video game television adaptation that I've ever seen thus far. The Fallout TV show has perfectly and faithfully replicated the original series' dark comedy and gritty seriousness. Walton Goggins stands out for his magnificent, captivating portrayal of the ghoul.
He was the
He
best part of this, I won't deny.
he was a joy to watch for every second of his overall screen time. I'm glad that many others have discovered the brilliance of the Fallout universe through this show. I'm looking forward to a second season.
Oof.
Yeah. Another great 5-star review here. Let's say very nearly gave this a miss after they seemed like an over edgy first episode, and I'm really glad I didn't. I didn't. I should have known better than to doubt Lisa Joy's and Jonathan Nolan's production chops. Subversive and provocative, Fallout weaves an uh, intriguing story together with well realized characters and moral complexity while managing to remain
And there ain't that much complexity.
darkly funny at every turn. Faithfulness to source material is pretty much non-existent in my criteria for media enjoyment. But if games are anything like the series, so I guess he didn't play the games, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense.
Then this serves as very worthy introduction to explore deeper into the world of Fallout.
Rated M for Charity, do you guys think if the show was released weekly that people would have more time to notice the flaws and the hype wouldn't be so high? Maybe. I'm going to be perfectly honest. A lot of people, and I'll use the term, and I don't mean it as an insult, but a lot of normal people or people who don't watch or know the video games watching this, there's a reason why it's positive. They don't know anything about the inconsistencies. They don't really care about the characterization, the poor characterizations. They don't care that Maximus wasn't well used, and it makes no sense if you really think about it for 5 seconds.
Also, the love story was really weak too.
Mm-hmm. And that the final battles and the don't make any sense when you really think about it, and it didn't really wrap up anything collectively in a mini arc. It kind of left things hanging in the air without really giving too many answers, or at least the answers worth a damn.
Yeah.
I think most people ate this up, loved it, and won't think on it until season 2 happens. But then there might be a few who come back and go, wait a minute, maybe. Oh my god, yes! Thank you for mentioning that. That was terrible. That was episode 5 when they went to Vault. Everything after episode 4, when Maximus and her meet up in 5, it's like they're two completely different characters, and like Maximus is 5 years old. No boy, especially a young man at that level in his 1820s, would ever refer to as his dick. Like, she's like, just randomly, she's like, so you want to have sex while we're in quarantine? And he's like, what? No. Like, what do you mean with my cock? For some boys, it gets hard and like pops like a pimple. And I'm like, dude, episode 2 in the barracks with other guys, you can see in the background a guy. Sorry, intercourse. Oh my god, that was fucking awful. Yeah, that was awful. In the barracks, you can see a guy jerking it under the covers. You know,
but that's not sex.
You know, this is you know what sex is.
But that's
why
not
are we
sex,
acting?
though.
Why are we acting like he doesn't know? He's been trained by scribes. He's been taught. They're like one of the most educated factions. Why are we?
Do they teach sex
Yes,
ed?
they do. Actually,
Okay.
it's in the lore.
But it's in the show. I don't know if it's
no, because they don't give a shit about the lore. That's proven. No, they're taught, like, people are given positions based on their skills. The smart people are scribes. The more brave people are made knights. Both smart and brave are made into knight commanders, and then later elders or leaders.
Is that like the people like that look like maesters? Is that what they call them?
Yeah, basically. They're the he was like maester whatever. That was like a made up position. Usually Elder's the top of the top, and then you have like Knight Commanders,
Okay.
Monroe
Um,
below.
yeah. So
Yes, I do feel like this was a bonding experience rated in maturity. I really do.
so what's your rating here? What's your
I
final?
gave my rating. It was a skip it.
Skip it. Oh, you gave it. I thought you said you liked some. I thought you said
I like some of it. For a Fallout fan, this is a skip it. For non-Fallout fans, this is a stream it.
okay. All right.
I don't hate it's not a burning because I don't hate it that much. Or it doesn't because there's some good things here. There's some genuinely good effort that went into here, and I can't say to burn it, but there's a lot of problems. And for me, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I can skip this. I can ignore this. Well, I won't because I'm gonna make a video on it.
So
But
you won't be there for season 2?
I'll be there if you ask me because I know if I don't, um, somebody's gonna be there to tell Rated M for Maturity and everybody else what the hell happened in season 2 because you ain't gonna know what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, so at the end they do set up Fallout New Vegas, I guess is the big tease at
Oh
the end.
god, they're gonna ruin it. This is gonna be
Yeah.
Todd's great revenge. It's gonna be Montezuma's revenge with Todd coming in to destroy the legacy of Black Isle and Obsidian Studios once and for all. There could be only one.
Yeah. Which I hear this is the best video game, and
By
Sage
far.
actually did come and review it. We're gonna be putting that up on the channel pretty soon, the review for Fallout New
I
Vegas.
cannot tell you how much I love New Vegas.
I mean, it makes me wanna play the games as much as, you guys talk about it. I haven't played a Fallout game. I do have it actually on PS4, but I have Fallout 4. I never opened it. I have Fallout 4 though.
I had the PS3 version of this, and it it was hard to play this because there's a even in Skyrim, if you save too often, the game's FPS would slowly die, and it would get worse and worse till it became unplayable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to come back after snuking Shady Sands, and apparently that wasn't a Todd's decision, it was the writer's decision. They asked Todd for permission to do so because they thought it would be interesting, and I'm like, "No, you just destroyed lore."
So yeah. So season 2 is coming. Popular series turns out for Amazon.
Mhm,
And we're gonna be seeing it. And when it comes out, we're gonna be giving our thoughts on it. So
mhm.
Dusk, if you're like Dusk if you're a Fallout fan, probably skip it. But if you're a non-Fallout fan, probably stream it, which is also what I gave it. I gave it a stream it there.
Or if you're like a Fallout fan and you're curious, stream it like if you want to stream it, but honestly, like it might be better for you just to skip it and watch the highlights. Like you can watch clips and get more out of it than watching the show.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. All right. That was Fallout spoiler review.